Washington, D.C., 2022. Caden Barrett watched from his Mercedes as the young maid who cleaned his Georgetown mansion hurried down the servants' entrance at 6 p.m. sharp, just as she did every evening. Something about Ivy Ruiz had always seemed off, the way she avoided eye contact, the designer bag she tried to hide under her worn coat, the quiet phone calls she took in hushed Spanish. For weeks, small things had gone missing from his study. Nothing valuable: a silver pen, a leather notebook, loose cash from his desk drawer. His business partner insisted she was stealing, building a case to sell to competitors. Caden needed proof before firing her. He followed her bus through the city, his expensive car maintaining careful distance as dusk settled over the capital. Ivy transferred twice, finally stepping off in a modest neighborhood near Fort Totten. She walked quickly, glancing over her shoulder as if sensing pursuit. Caden parked and followed on foot, his Armani suit drawing curious stares from residents sitting on porches. Ivy turned onto a quiet street lined with small townhouses, stopping at a blue door with chipped paint. Before she could unlock it, 3 identical little boys burst through. If you've ever questioned someone's story before, knowing the truth, what happens next will change how you see everything. Stay with us. This matters more than you know. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. The 3 boys, no more than 3 years old, wore identical Spider-Man shirts and had the same light brown curls, the same bright eyes, triplets. They crashed into Ivy with the force of pure joy, their voices overlapping in excited chatter. "Mama! Mama! We made towers! Miss Rosa said we were good. I missed you so much." Caden froze behind a parked car, watching as Ivy dropped to her knees, gathering all 3 into her arms despite the grocery bags weighing her down. Her exhausted face transformed with a smile so radiant it made his chest tighten with unexpected emotion. This was why she always left exactly at 6, why she never stayed for overtime despite his generous offers, why she looked perpetually exhausted. An elderly neighbor, Miss Rosa, appeared in the doorway. "They were angels today, mija, but Mateo was asking about his papa again." Ivy's smile faltered slightly. "Thank you, Miss Rosa. Come on, Miss Amores. Let's get inside." As she herded the boys through the door, one of them dropped a toy car. Caden watched as it rolled toward the street, and without thinking, he stepped forward to retrieve it. Ivy's head snapped up, her eyes locking with his. Fear flashed across Ivy's face before she quickly schooled it into professional politeness. "Mr. Barrett, what are you doing here?" Caden held up the toy car, feeling suddenly foolish in his $1,000 suit, standing in front of her humble home while her children peeked from behind her legs. "You dropped this." The smallest boy, Mateo apparently, reached for the car with chubby fingers. "Thank you, mister." "Mateo, inside," Ivy said firmly, her accent thickening with stress. She ushered the boys through the door, then turned back to Caden, stepping onto the small porch and pulling the door closed behind her. "Why did you follow me?" "Things have been missing from my office," Caden said, the accusation sounding hollow now. "My partner thought that the poor maid was stealing?" Ivy's eyes flashed with anger and hurt. "I clean your house, Mr. Barrett. I see your life. The expensive watches you leave on counters, the cash scattered everywhere like it means nothing. You think I would risk my job, risk my son's stability for your pocket change?" "Then explain the designer bag," Caden challenged, though his conviction wavered. "It was my sister's," Ivy said quietly. "Before she died. It's all I have left of her." Through the window, Caden could see the 3 boys pressing their faces against the glass. Ivy followed his gaze and sighed. "You want to know why I'm so careful about leaving on time? Come inside. See what I'm supposedly stealing your life for." The small townhouse was immaculate despite its worn furniture. Children's drawings covered one wall. 3 toddler beds lined a small room precisely made. The kitchen table held 3 plastic plates with carefully portioned mac and cheese. The cheap kind, Caden noted, not the organic brand he threw away half-eaten at home. "I'm a widow," Ivy said, her voice steady despite the pain in her eyes. "Carlos died 2 years ago. Construction accident. No insurance. These boys were 6 months old." She gestured around the modest space. "This is what I built from nothing. My sister Maria helped until she got sick last year. Cancer. I was with her at the end instead of working. That's when I fell behind on rent." She pulled out a folder from a drawer, showing him eviction notices, medical bills, collection letters. "I work 3 jobs, Mr. Barrett. Yours, overnight stocking at a grocery store, and weekend data entry. I send money to Carlos's mother in El Salvador every month because she has no one else." One of the triplets, impossible to tell which, tugged Caden's sleeve. "Are you Mama's friend?" Caden looked down into innocent eyes that held no judgment, only curiosity. I don't know," Caden admitted to the child, then looked at Ivy. "I owe you an apology. I made assumptions based on nothing but prejudice and paranoia." Ivy's expression softened slightly. "Why are you really here? The truth?" Caden sat at her small kitchen table, suddenly exhausted by his own privilege. "My business partner has been pushing to fire you. He says you're stealing proprietary information, selling it to competitors. I came to find proof, but—" He gestured helplessly around the humble home. "This isn't the house of a corporate spy." "Is someone actually stealing from you?" Ivy asked, her cleaning instincts kicking in despite everything. "Documents, flash drives, security footage shows someone in my office after hours, but their face is always obscured." Ivy frowned. "I'm only in your house during the day, but—" She hesitated. "Your partner, Mr. Vance? He has a key, doesn't he? I've seen him there late sometimes when I come early." Caden felt something click into place. Marcus Vance, his college roommate, his trusted partner for 10 years. Who'd been pushing for a buyout of Caden's shares lately? Who'd been the one insisting Ivy was the thief? His phone buzzed. "Marcus, where are you? The Shanghai investors are here." Caden looked at Ivy, at her 3 sons now climbing on her lap despite her protests, at the life she'd built from tragedy and determination. If you've ever discovered that the person you trusted was the real betrayer, you know this feeling. Stay with us. What happens next will show you why truth matters more than assumptions. Tell us where you're watching from. "I need your help," Caden said suddenly. "If Marcus is stealing from me, he's doing it from my home office. You see things I don't. Things a CEO doesn't notice, but a cleaner would." Ivy studied him warily. "Why should I help you? You followed me home, accused me of stealing. Because if he succeeds in framing you, you'll lose your job, maybe face charges." Caden met her eyes. "And because I was wrong and I want to make it right." After a long moment, Ivy nodded. "I've noticed things, small things. Your home office door is sometimes unlocked in the morning when I know I locked it the night before. Papers moved slightly. Your laptop has fingerprint smudges you wouldn't make. You're left-handed. These are right-handed." Caden's mind raced. Marcus was right-handed. "There's more," Ivy continued. 3 weeks ago, I found a USB drive behind your desk. I turned it into you, remember? You said you'd been looking for it." "I never lost a USB drive," Caden said slowly. "Marcus must have taken it and planted it back, hoping I wouldn't notice the data breach." A sound from the hallway made them both freeze. One of the triplets had opened the front door. A figure stood silhouetted in the evening light. "Ivy, you okay?" A young man in a college hoodie stepped inside. Her brother, Caden realized from the family resemblance. "Miss Rosa said some rich guy was bothering you." "It's fine, Diego," Ivy assured him. "This is my employer, Mr. Barrett." Diego's eyes narrowed. "The one who works you 12-hour days for minimum wage?" I pay her $15 an hour, Caden said defensively. Wow, a whole $3 above minimum, Diego shot back. You live in a mansion and she's rationing mac and cheese for her kids. The observation stung because it was true. Caden had never considered what Ivy's life cost, never asked if his generous wage actually covered her reality. Diego, please, Ivy said tiredly. I need this job. Actually, Caden said, an idea forming. I need to increase your salary, significantly, starting immediately. He turned to Ivy. $25 an hour plus health insurance for you and the boys. Ivy's eyes widened. Mr. Barrett, you don't. I do. And I need you to help me catch Marcus before he destroys my company. He pulled out his phone. Can you come to the house tomorrow morning, earlier than usual? I want to set up cameras he doesn't know about. Before Ivy could answer, all three boys started crying simultaneously. Bedtime meltdown, Ivy explained, scooping up two boys while Diego grabbed the third. It happens every night at 8:30 exactly. Caden watched, fascinated, as Ivy transformed into a crisis manager, checking diapers, warming milk, singing a Spanish lullaby that gradually calmed the chaos. Within 15 minutes, all three boys were drowsy and content. You're good at this, he said. I've had practice, Ivy replied. Exhaustion evident in every line of her body. Mr. Barrett, about tomorrow? Caden, he interrupted. Call me Caden. She hesitated, then nodded. Caden. If we're going to do this, I need to know I won't lose my job if something goes wrong. I can't risk my son's home. You won't, Caden promised. In fact, I'm putting it in writing. He pulled out his phone and typed rapidly. Employment contract, minimum 2 years guaranteed at the new rate, with severance protection. My lawyer will formalize it tonight. Ivy's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Because I was wrong about you, Caden said simply. And because... He looked at the three sleeping boys. Because they deserve a mother who doesn't have to work herself to death. The next morning, Caden arrived at his Georgetown mansion at 5 a.m. to find Ivy already there, eyes sharp despite the early hour. Together, they installed tiny cameras in his office. The cameras went live at 6 a.m. Caden left for a deliberately scheduled emergency meeting across town, texting Marcus that he'd be gone all day. Then he and Ivy settled in his car outside with a laptop, watching the feeds. At 7:30 a.m., Marcus Vance entered the mansion using his key. He went straight to Caden's office. There, Ivy breathed, pointing at the screen. He's photographing documents from your safe. They watched as Marcus systematically copied files, his movements practiced and efficient. He'd clearly done this many times before. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled out a USB drive and planted it in Ivy's cleaning caddy, which she'd left in the office. He's framing me right now, Ivy said, her voice tight with controlled anger. Not anymore, Caden replied, already calling his lawyer. We have everything we need. Within hours, Marcus was confronted by company security, police, and Caden's legal team. The evidence was overwhelming. Months of theft, corporate espionage, planned sale of proprietary software to Chinese competitors. You trusted a maid over me? Marcus spat at Caden as police led him away in handcuffs. I built this company with you. No, Caden said quietly. You stole from it while I wasn't looking. That evening, Caden returned to Ivy's townhouse. The triplets were playing in the living room, and Ivy was cooking dinner. Real food now, not boxed mac and cheese. The board voted to make you director of operations, Caden told Ivy, who nearly dropped her wooden spoon. It's a real position, 6-figure salary, full benefits, and you can work mostly from home with the boys. I don't have a college degree, Ivy protested. "I'm a housekeeper." "You're a woman who raised triplets alone, worked 3 jobs, and still noticed details that a Harvard MBA missed," Caden countered. "You're exactly who I need running operations." Ivy sank into a chair, overwhelmed. "I don't understand. Why?" "Because I've spent 10 years building a company while being blind to the people actually making it work," Caden admitted. "Because you saved everything I built while I was too privileged to see the threat right in front of me." He paused. "And because those 3 boys deserve better than rationed mac and cheese." 6 months later, Ivy had transformed Caden's company's operations, implementing systems that tripled efficiency. The triplets attended a good preschool where they thrived, and every Friday, Caden had dinner at Ivy's new apartment, a spacious place with 3 real bedrooms, purchased with her first bonus. "Tio Caden," the boys shouted as he arrived, using the Spanish word for uncle they'd adopted naturally. Caden looked at Ivy, who smiled that radiant smile he'd first seen that evening, and realized he'd found something more valuable than any business deal. A family built not on blood or assumptions, but on truth, trust, and second chances. If this story of judgment turned to justice, of assumptions shattered by truth, moved you, then share it forward. These are the stories that need to be told, of people who were invisible until someone finally chose to see them. One last time. Tell us where you're watching from, and remember that the person you overlook today might be the one who saves everything tomorrow.